So today we're going to talk about experiential learning, academic success strategies, and campus resources. This is what we feel is most important to you guys, especially when you're first getting here as transfer students at UC Davis. So let's get started. I will hand it off to Dr. Susan Keene.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome. Thank you for coming. So I want to start out just with a short definition. Experiential learning is the hands-on experience through real-world training. And we were, in a normal quarter, we would have you come to campus and there would be a research fair where labs would table and you would get some idea what was happening in those labs. And as well as that, you could do any of these experiential learning things listed here. You could do the undergraduate research, which I just mentioned. You could do internships through the Internship and Career Center or other places. You could volunteer or you could study abroad. And we have a variety of ways for students to get involved and to gain this real world experience in realistic settings. But right now, because of the pandemic and the challenging situation, we've had to change our ways of offering things to you. And so it's quite exciting that we do have quite a few different things to offer than we would have had in the past. So you can go ahead and change the slide, please. So one of the first things is a very unusual and interesting experience, and that's to work at the campus COVID-19 testing kiosk. And the campus is setting up multiple testing kiosks around the campus in a way that's going to be easy for people to come in and get a COVID test. And so two of our faculty members, Professor Jonathan Eisen and Dr. David Coyle, and his TA Kayla have set up this course where you will learn the academic concepts that go with this process, and then you will work 4 hours per week in hands-on shifts at the kiosk. So you'll get training, and there's quite a few health-related trainings as well, and then you'll do this 4 hours of work at the kiosk. So this is a very interesting 2-unit course. If you have questions about how to register for it, the course registration number is right here. And you'll probably find this a completely fascinating experience. So next one, please. So the other things that happen, we have Aggie Health Ambassadors, and these are students that will be moving around the campus during public events, helping other people to remember to use healthful behaviors, to keep distance from each other, to wear masks. It's a paid position, and there were 250. I understand that quite a few of the openings have already been taken, so you may not be able to get that. But this slide also includes information on how you do that, how you would apply for this through the Internship and Career Center. And they have this program Handshake, which you can click the link and read about. Okay, next one, please. The Internship and Career Center is a really good thing to know about. It has, it's trying to offer a variety of experiential events, even in the current situation. One of the options is tutoring. There are students who can tutor even as incoming freshmen. They can help other families. And then there are some ways to help with providing care as an alternative to what you might often want to do in a hospital or clinical setting. So if you want to go on to the next one, please. So check the ICC website for that. So the ICC also has these health-related internships. They don't have as many vacancies as they usually have, but there could still be some left. There are also on campus a thing called student-run medical clinics. And by student-run, we mean medical student-run. So the students who are getting their MD degrees actually run these clinics to help people in a variety of situations, often in neighborhoods where there's a great deal of need. And I received an email this week from this group, VN Cares, and they are interested in adding new students. It's a student-run clinic focused on public health, cancer awareness, and they would like you to, if you're interested, please check out their website, and I think they'll be able to help you. That'd be quite interesting. Next one, please. So then we have courses about research in the departments. And two of the departments in particular have specialized research courses for undergraduates. And these are seminars. They will present some information about what the faculty do in a variety of areas. There'll be some discussion. And then in this particular one with Professor Hunter, you write a short profile paper on one of the presentations that you heard. So this is small 1-unit thing that's easy to fit into your schedule that will let you know what kind of research goes on in the department and how the faculty think about things. So this can be a really good thing to consider, and it's a very small part of your course load. Next one, please. The next one is another course in research in a department. This is in the Department of Neurobiology, Physiology, and Behavior. And the two instructors here, Alden Gomes and Gabby Nevitt, and they're going to do actually a 2-hour lecture program with a 1-hour discussion. And they have some upper division prereqs here, so you'll have to check and see, but you can take these courses concurrently. So you'd want to check into that. They're going to have lectures by authorities in the field and talk about the latest research. Again, this one is only 2 units, so it's not a heavy change to your schedule if you wanted to add that. And you can always get in touch with the faculty members. You can find the faculty members' emails on the, some of them I put in this presentation, and other ones, if you go to the departmental website, it'll be easy to find a way to connect to the faculty. Okay, next slide, please. And then Professor Sean Burgess in the Department of Molecular and Cellular Biology, she does research on chromosome changes during meiosis, and you can read here a little blurb about her research. If you're interested in this, you would have to send her an email and see if you could join her journal club where they discuss the latest research, and meetings of her lab where they talk about what they've been doing in the lab. So for this one, you don't sign up, you email Professor Burgess and then she'll arrange for you to join. Thank you. Next one, please. And then this year, we were really fortunate to reach out to the School of Medicine and find faculty who were willing to have new transfer students and senior undergraduates join their labs and get to know what research is going on within the medical school. And I have several slides here that list the names of the labs. So this is the professor who runs the lab. Ellie Grandy is the first one. There's the email to get in contact with her. And then this is the research that goes on in her lab. So this is cellular mechanisms of cardiac arrhythmia diseases. So that would be one thing. You could just send an email and join one of the things. And what you'll see in this section is that each lab has provided a different way of accessing. So you might email the professor and join the lab group, and what each lab is offering is individual to that lab. So they might want you to join a study and learn about computational approaches to analysis here in Colleen Clancy's lab. In Brittany Duggar's lab, it's a very informal set of sessions where they're going to be looking at microscope slides and brains of people with Alzheimer's. They're also going to be looking at, so they focus on Alzheimer and the diseased brain. Next slide, please. We have 4 more labs here. Xiaodong Zhang is research with cardiology. Okay, and he would like to develop individual training plans with each of the students, so you would contact him for that. Javier Lopez is also going to do cardiac work, and he will develop a process that he hopes will eventually be allowed to be more hands-on, so you could contact for that. Wei-Si Zhang is also teaching a course. This is an actual session, RAL 199. So if you contact that lab, you'd get the CRN to enroll in that for immunological research. And then Professor Hotch is running a 1-unit seminar that's going to be a journal club and discuss his research in process for applied health. And you can also go on the websites and read more about the research of each of these faculty members if you want to know more before you contact them. Okay, next slide, please. And then we have more labs in the School of Medicine. They were extremely generous in joining. Burl Dawn has a nephrology journal club and the opportunity to observe grand rounds. And I presume they will be videoing those grand rounds, but I didn't get the details. Now for that one, you would contact a person who manages the lab here. And so you would be careful not to write to the professor if I've listed some other email here. Elena Gonjarova does lung research, pulmonary research, and she's excited to have people come in and join some of her lab meetings. This next one with Angela is a research conference run by the Lung Center, and that would be just, you would sort of join like a webinar kind of thing and get a sense. And again, here's the email for joining that one. Catherine Kim has a health informatics lab, and she would like to tailor the opportunity you can see here. So the opportunity could be tailored for what the student is looking for. And then the last one in this group is the Yarovoy and the SAC labs, and they're studying electrophysiological signaling, and they're excited to have you join their lab meeting, so you could just email John Sack and get a sense of what's going on in that lab. Next slide, please. And then for slightly more formal seminars or stuff that's upcoming, in spring of 2021, Professor Paramita Ghosh will be running a seminar with research into cell signaling in prostate cancer. And she has run seminars that have accepted CBS undergraduates for several years now, and they've been very happy with the contributions of the CBS undergrads. They thought they were really of high quality and valuable to joining the seminar. And then the last one is Professor Sean Adams, who's going to be creating a lab, and that's not open yet. So you'd have to put that one on the back burner until the end of next year. But he will be opening a lab in elementary and metabolic science. Okay, next one, please. So then the last thing in this sort of type of thing is a somewhat different style, where there are seminar series that departments or groups on the campus hold. There are seminar series where groups on the campus hold regular meetings where they invite someone in to tell them about the latest research in the area. And that's what these seminar series are. And you can join these seminar series just quietly. You might have to get the link, but you wouldn't have to participate. You could just listen. And when I was an undergraduate, the first ones I went to, I was a little bit, I felt a little bit surprised at the level of the research that I couldn't always keep up on. But the more you go, the more you figure it out. So I really encourage you to give those two things a try as well. Okay, next slide, please. And then I think this is somebody else's part of the talk. I think that just ended my portion, right, Yasmin?
Yes, Dr. Ken Kaplan is up next. Thank you, Dr. Keen.
Okay, good morning, everyone. So these are just a few tips I've sort of generated for students to get actively involved in learning over the years. These apply to both in-person classes, but also, and probably more importantly, for remote learning. Okay, so the take-home message from what I'll be telling you is that probably what you did to study and do well at junior college may not translate perfectly to your time at UC Davis. We're on a quarter system and expectations might be different. So I challenge you all to revisit how you study, and here are some tips to think about, especially with regard to remote learning. So actively engaging in material is going to be really important. So asynchronous material will be provided to you. This could be in the form of videos or other media for most of your classes. In order to really get the most out of them, you're going to have to isolate yourself from distractions, right? That means turning off notifications, cell phones, etc., finding a quiet place to review that material. Don't just come and watch it. Don't try to binge watch all of the material from your classes. It will just become noise. This is not a Netflix series, unfortunately. So create an outline for yourself before you start to view the material. You might use the learning objectives from the class. Topic outlines that your professor might provide you are a great way to mark where you can be engaged in that material, okay? I think one of the most important recommendations that I have about asynchronous material is to really work on chunking out the material. Again, don't try to view it all at once. View short sections of the material, maybe 5 or 10 minutes. Use your outline as a way to view just that material, then take a break. Go do something else for a while, come back, and make sure that you're actively engaging in that material. Be sure that you attend and that you're prepared for live sessions. This could be office hours, this could be discussion sections. Make a list of terms, for example, before you attend. That way you can ask for clarification of those terms. Maybe you think you know the term, but maybe you're not sure. That's a perfectly great question and an easy one to ask. Super important because you're learning to speak and think like scientists and biologists while you're here. So getting that terminology down is going to be super important for doing well on exams. Maybe type your questions before you come to the class. That's a really nice thing. And a silver lining for remote learning is that you can just paste that right into the Zoom chat box and you don't have to do any more work and your question presumably will get answered. So that's a really nice approach. Okay, next slide. Okay, so this is where you really need to challenge yourself as you begin in the fall to develop your own learning strategies. And I really encourage you to experiment a little bit with the strategy because the one you begin with may not be the best, either for all the courses that you take or for any of the courses for that matter. Ask yourself, what type of learner are you? Are you visual, auditory, kinesthetic, reading and writing, or maybe it's a mix of all of those things? For me, I'm a very visual learner. I love to draw diagrams about complex biological pathways, and that's the only way I can ever get that material understood. So find a good way for yourself and experiment, okay? Personal interactions are really important for learning, also for your mental health and well-being, and it's particularly challenging in the remote learning environment, but there are ways to create virtual study groups using Slack, Facebook, Google Hangouts, Discord, etc. In fact, ask your instructor to post a contact list, maybe with student information about majors, for example, or other personal information that allow you to connect and create little mini study groups. Okay, so it's not enough just to view the material and be actively engaged in it, but you have to practice the material after you've watched the videos or gone to lecture, okay? So find a way to re-explain the concepts. Maybe it's from your notes, or maybe you do it in a new format. Record yourself, right? You can do that using Zoom, or you can do that using PowerPoint. Draw diagrams, that's what I do, write a summary, or connect with your study group. Don't worry if you feel confused, right? Being in doubt is really part of learning, okay? And I guarantee you that you're not alone, right? We all get confused and feel in doubt. That's a great time to ask for help, okay? It's part of learning, but you shouldn't allow your confusion to persist. 10-week quarters go really fast. So it's important, and you owe it to yourself to get help as quickly as you can. Okay, so those are some of my tips, and I think more detailed tips are going to be posted somewhere on the BASC website for you guys.
Thank you, Dr. Kaplan. All right. I'm just going to give you guys some campus resources that are available to you before we get to our Q&A session. First and foremost, utilize the BASC website. It has a lot of great information on it. I think I have so many appointments with students where they ask me, where do I find the information about my degree progress? Where do I find information about my degree, the courses that I need to complete my degree? Well, if you go to the BASC website, every single one of our majors are listed on our website along with the degree sheet, which means it tells you the preparatory work that you're going to need, your upper division work that you're going to need. It has our minors listed. You can go here and find our faculty members. You can find out what minors you can find out where to get advising information from, schedule an appointment. It's definitely a website that you want to get comfortable with because it has a lot of great information. Next up is the Aatc, Academic Assistance and Tutoring Center. This tutoring center pretty much has tutoring for most of the classes, the disciplines that you're going to have to take within the CBS. So, they have tutoring for biology, chemistry, math, physics, stats. You're going to have to do upper division writing and lower division writing. So they have writing tutoring as well. I highly recommend getting comfortable with going to the Aatc. They are going to be holding virtual tutoring sessions. So don't hesitate to reach out to them or make an appointment and find out exactly when their sessions are offered. It's a great resource. Also, the OEOES, Office of Educational Opportunity and Enrichment Services. They actually have pre-grad and law advising. So I have a lot of students who will come to me and say, Yasmin, I want to go to get my PhD. I don't want to go to med school. Where can I find out information about that process? Well, the OEOES is a place where you can get pre-grad and law advising. So great resource. Also, they have success coaching and learning strategies. You can either go to a workshop or you can also have a one-on-one coach that can help you with your goals that you have, academic, personal goals, any type of goals that you're trying to reach. I've heard great things about the success coaches in the OEOES. So definitely check them out, get comfortable with them, and utilize this resource. HPA, I'm sure you guys have heard about health professions advising. If not, get comfortable with them as well. A lot of students in the College of Biological Sciences are planning on going into some type of health profession. And so this is where you're going to go to find out about those prerequisites, the application process, different schools, all the things that have to do with health professions, you should go to the HPA about. Some students might be somewhat confused about the difference between an academic advisor at BASC and a health profession advisor. Well, as an academic advisor with BASC, I'm going to help you get your degree in MPB, specifically me because I'm an MPB advisor. I'm going to help you get your degree in MPB, but the health profession advisors will help you make your schedule that will also include the prerequisites that you need for whatever health profession you're going into. I wouldn't, some health professions might say you need a sociology class in addition to a year of writing. Well, in the MPB degree, you don't need a year of writing. You don't have to have a psychology or a sociology class. So that will be up to you and the HPA advisor to try to work that into your schedule in addition to what your degree requires in order to graduate. So this is a really good resource to use in addition to going to a BASC advisor. So the Student Health and Wellness Center, this is definitely a place where you might end up just, to get maybe some counseling or go for a medical emergency. That this is definitely a place where you can get all the things done in regards to that. They have counseling services. A lot of students will go here if they have issues with their, I can't think of what the word I'm looking for, when they're trying to get into school and make sure they have all of their medical immunizations. There we go. If they have an immunization hole, they will go here and talk about that, the different medical issues they might have, and that's making them not be able to get that hold removed. So if you have any questions about mental health, medical issues, this is definitely a resource that you'll use while you're on campus. And additional campus resources, you can check out all of our 800 plus clubs on campus. If you want to get involved, if you want to join a sorority, if you want to join maybe a med school club or anything like that, this is definitely where you can go and get more information about that. We also have clubs in CBS. The link at the bottom tells you all about our different majors and the clubs that are assigned to those. So you can utilize these as well. All right. And now we can start our Q&A session.
We only have 2 questions in the Q&A right now because we've been kind of typing and answering them. But I think a good question for the faculty is kind of a theme in the questions was, do students need to have any type of experience to get involved in research on campus? And how can they go about connecting with faculty to learn about their experiences?
Anybody?
I can jump in on that. So for a research experience, I think it's great to talk to your teaching assistants in your classes, as well as your professors for classes you're taking. That's one way to kind of get into a lab, is to make the connection through them. And you'll already have some experience interacting with them, so it's a good in. But you don't need to have taken a class with somebody. So if you're looking across websites and names of professors and somebody looks like they're doing interesting research, you can send them an email and ask about the kind of experience that's required. And some labs have sort of entry-level positions where you can do some work and show that you're serious, and then you can move up to something a little bit more intense as time goes on. Others, you might need experience before you get started, so it's good to reach out and talk to the professors.
Thank you. Leslie?
Yeah, so I put in the chat a couple times the link. You can get to it through BASC or through the CBS website. It's called How Do I Get Involved in Undergraduate Research? And there's a window with a bunch of tips. And that also includes how do you reach out by email to professors? Because that's something I saw coming up in the chat as well, like how do you actually do it? So there's some good tips there. You can also talk to your master faculty advisor, which several of us are, and that's why we're here. We like to talk to students about how to get into research. So you can find us on the BASC website as well. And I also wanted to mention, based on some of the questions, because there was a variety of different types of research that people are interested in. And so just because you're in a major in College of Biological Sciences doesn't mean that you can't reach out and do research with somebody in the vet school or in forensics, which is housed in the chemistry department, or in the ag school, right? There's so much research on campus and you're not limited, but yeah, you have to go explore people's websites and reach out to them. So again, yeah, it's not that most professors necessarily post their research. You have to figure out what you're interested in and contact them. And then I'll also just mention, yeah, with the issues of COVID right now, yeah, many of us are not able to take new students into the lab this quarter, but we may be taking them later. And so we may have students attend our lab meetings and that type of thing to learn the background, with the idea that they will transition into that hands-on research as things open up a little bit. And I don't know if anybody else wants to comment on that aspect, because that's very, again, I think school dependent and research dependent. And Ken has his hand.
Yeah, I guess I can't raise my hand because I don't know why. Anyway, I can physically raise my hand. So I just want to add on to what Leslie was saying. Yeah, this quarter, because we're remote, it's going to take even more engagement for students to find research opportunities. It doesn't mean they're not out there. They're just not quite as traditional as usual. And to be fair, a lot of us faculty are trying to figure out how to cope with all of the complications from the pandemic. So I think it's a great time to practice reaching out, write a good email. I think Leslie or Dr. Rose put the nice link for you in the Q&A. And start meeting professors. If you get a few Zoom meetings with professors whose research you're interested in, that's an accomplishment already. And I think that'll put you in good stead. There are lots of opportunities, from journal clubs to sort of remote learning seminars about lab work and research. So I encourage you not to feel like it's hopeless. It's not hopeless. It's just not the same as it would be if we were in person. So get engaged, be involved. Yeah, and I think starting right away is what I would do if I were you.
Excellent, thank you. We have a couple questions that just came into the chat. So one of them is, if I email a professor about their research, should I include my resume? I'm seeing some shaking heads as a yes in our panelist window.
Yeah,
absolutely. Go ahead.
Oh, this is Alex Nord. I was just going to say that when I get emails from students, I like to see a resume as well as a little bit of thought about why they're interested in my lab. That's the most effective email you can send, even if you don't have anything on the resume that's necessarily directly perfect. It shows that you've thought about this and gives us a little bit more information. So it's very helpful. And if you need help crafting an email because you haven't done something like this before, you can talk to peers or Basque, I'm sure.
Excellent.
And I guess I'd also echo that a lot of labs aren't able to get undergraduates into the lab right now. But as Dr. Kaplan said, many of us are trying to figure out how to engage with students who are interested in the future so that when we can open back up. And so, for example, through having a journal club or something, it'll be different this quarter. But you might also ask the professor that you reach out to if they have some alternative to in-person meetings, because some may just say, I can't take anybody in my lab right now. But if you kind of ask that second question, you might get some more information.
Leslie, I think your hand is raised. Go for it.
Yeah, thank you. So I'd like to add that we have an undergraduate research center on campus, abbreviated URC. So if you do a search on that, that's a great center to help you to prepare for approaching faculty. They also have had some discovery cafes, which are webinars that are posted on their website. I attended a couple of them, finding research in the STEM areas that will be helpful by watching those webinars. There's also a remote research kind of link from their website that has opportunities for remote research. They did say in the cafes that there's not one centralized place to get information. Handshake is one of them, Basque, our newsletters when we send them out, as well as just talking to professors directly. But the URC is a really good resource for you.
Thank you, Teresa. Leslie, would you like to go ahead and give your 2 cents on the topic?
Sure. I was going to follow up on what Alex said, and also one of the questions in the chat about, does having a minor in like another topic help you get into research? I think, right, the key thing is looking up people's research and thinking about what your interests are, what you want to learn, and then when you write that email to the professor, making it clear that you're interested in their lab. And so it's basically what Alex said. And again, that website that's in there talks a little bit about that, and having people read your cover letter, your resume, because if you just say, hey, do you have any spots in your lab? We're not going to answer. And then the other thing I wanted to mention is that it is actually quite asynchronous. And so like in my lab, I have 4 undergrads right now. I'm not going to take anybody new, but somebody will graduate in winter. So then if somebody emails me at that time, I might have a spot. Whereas if they email me right now, I don't. And that's also related to one of the questions of, I think, balancing research. And I was just going to say, if this is your first quarter on the quarter system, if you're coming from a semester as a transfer student, I would spend this quarter getting used to the system and then looking up people, which I think somebody else said, like, do your research, figure out what you want to do, and start contacting people. But like, don't feel like you need to get into a lab next week. Take the quarter to get adjusted, and then be looking at getting into a lab for the winter quarter would be my advice. Okay.
Excellent. Yasmin, I know we have to move on to the other Q&As, so should we continue to take questions, or do we need to move on to the next?
We can take a couple of more questions before we end the faculty and staff advisors portion.
Okay, so I see a question in here about how can I best prepare for a research position when I don't have much experience?
I just threw up a quick answer to that one, but I'll reiterate it. So I think what I look for from students is their passion and interest in a particular biological question. Not so much experience. I don't necessarily expect you to come knowing how to do a lab technique. And to be fair, I can teach lab techniques to anyone. It's how much energy that you have and how much excitement you have about asking questions in a lab. That's what makes a difference, at least in my experience, for success in the laboratory environment. But I'll hand it off to my colleagues who might have more to add.
I would just follow up on that and say, and I'd mentioned earlier that you can talk to your teaching assistants and your professors about opportunities in their lab if they're doing research you find interesting. And that's a good way to kind of, they've had a chance to interact with you in classes or office hours, and they'll know a little bit about you and have a sense of whether you are excited and are focused and good at following through on your work. So that is one possible in. Otherwise, you can try to express that excitement and focus through your email and trying to contact a professor if you haven't made any contact with them over Zoom through a course.
Excellent, thank you. One question on here I think is a really interesting one is, where do you think it would be best for students to get help with writing their emails to professors to seek out lab research opportunities?
Go ahead.
Again, the Undergraduate Research Center can really help you prepare and refine what you want to share with faculty before you approach them about research in their labs. So the URC is a really, really good place that can help you with that.
Yes, I would also like to add that it's important for the student to know what the research is. So when you go to the websites for each department, there'll be a little blurb about the work that the faculty are doing, and there'll also be a link to maybe a recent paper that they've written. So you want to write to them indicating that you're aware of what it is they do, right? And so a little bit of background digging can help you. And then your email will communicate the excitement that the other faculty have been talking about, because you'll be writing from even a somewhat informed perspective is going to make the faculty realize that you've thought about their lab and you know exactly why you want to work with that person.
Thank you. And I think one final question for this group would be, did you have a specific minor or focus in your major, and how did you choose from them when you went to university? I know it's kind of a big question and we might not have time for everybody, but just quickly.
I'll answer then. Well, yeah, you don't, minor's usually completely different from your major. So that's one thing to think about. You don't minor in something related. I actually had a broad biological sciences background. That's why I'm the biological sciences master advisor. But you can, it's all up to your interests. If you're interested in something, take more classes. That's my feeling.
I mean, I just add in, I think we're in such interesting times, both because of the pandemic and other social issues that are coming to light as a result. So it's a really interesting time to connect the biology that you have thought about maybe for a while to social issues. So I just had a wonderful summer session class, and one of my students was I think a minor in philosophy, for example. And so that connection worked really well for her. And so that seemed super exciting to think about those connections and how to make your studies relevant, because honestly, that, at least to me, that's the most helpful way to do well in school.
All right, thank you so much to the faculty who's been a part of our Q&A session. Now we're gonna start the peer Q&A session. Guys ready? So once again, the peers are students who are our peer advisors. They are currently in the majors that you all are about to start in the fall. So they would be great to ask questions about maybe school, like a university life, picking your classes, class scheduling, just good tips about different things. They have a different perspective from us because, as I said, they're actually going through it right now. They're doing what you're about to do in the fall. So they could have some really good insight if you have some more questions that focuses on maybe classes and scheduling and stuff like that.
So the first question would be, what is the best place to study on campus? I know because of COVID, this is kind of a different question, different answer than we might have had historically, but peers, what's your best place to study on campus?
I don't know if the library is open right now, but my favorite place to study on campus was the library courtyard, which is inside the library, but it's like an outside area within it.
I'll pipe in on that one too. I was also a Shields library girl, and the floors, you may want to know, go from loudest to quietest. So I always hung out on the 4th floor where there was nobody around, but just so you know for the future, when it does open again.
To add on to that, I also love Shields Library, but it's at Davis. It's really unique because all around campus, you'll go into many different buildings and there's nooks and crannies everywhere with like random tables and places. So you'll just see like a student sitting at the end of the hallway, like studying. And so really when we get to go back to campus, find the place that works for you, because I have friends that are like, oh, did you know about this little hidden section where it's super quiet and you can study? So I definitely recommend like touring around campus when you get the chance to find that place that works for you.
I also like the 4th floor of Shields Library because it's so quiet. And also I really like the Arboretum. They have picnic tables and it's nice to study outside, and usually it's pretty quiet besides people walking by.
Awesome, thank you. And what type of calendar or organizational system do you all use to keep track of all of your many classes and extracurriculars and such?
I use Google Calendar for most of my schedule, and Canvas usually has a calendar associated with it, so you can see your deadlines through like the whole quarter if your professors have published that. So I rely on that as well.
Yeah, I use the same thing, Google Calendar, and then I have a whiteboard in my room that I like to put my schedule on just for I can see it right away when I wake up or like when I'm in my room.
Any other peers want to chime in on that one, or do you want me to move to the next question?
I use Google Calendar as well. Something I do, so for my big events, I put that in Google Calendar, but then for planning out when I'm going to do certain homework assignments, I have a separate planner that I mark out when I'm going to do those and I mark those off. So I have like kind of two separate organization systems.
Excellent. And so this is kind of related, but how do you manage classes, jobs, research positions? You know, how do you keep everything straight?
So starting my second year, I joined and had a campus job. So currently I'm a very busy student. So on top of my workload, I have 3 campus jobs and I am in a club on campus. So I say find what fits for you. I use Google Calendar and I always say that a communication system is the best form to staying organized. So you stay on top with your bosses as well as your clubs, because sometimes you do need a break. So it's good to really fit that in. So something I kind of try to schedule in is time for me to have on my own to either take a nap or go do some exercise or something to mental health, take care of myself. So I schedule that in as well on top of my other jobs, duties, and assignments.
Yeah, just to reflect what Emily said, I'm a double major and I have a minor and I did research. And so what I've done is I've kind of coordinated how many units I take. So if I know that I want to do a lot of research that quarter, I'm not going to take 20 units. And then if I know that I really want to just get some classes, you know, out of the way, then I'll take more units. But kind of like what Emily said, right now I'm kind of using like exercising as my detox for things. So I make like time in my day just for myself, and it really helps when you have all these other things that you have to do.
So we have about 4 minutes left, and then there's a couple questions in the Q&A that I think would be a really great way to kind of finish things off. And it's kind of just, you know, relating around COVID. So one of the questions is, you know, how did you transition from going to in-person to online classes? And, you know, what advice would you give, especially new students, how to, you know, kind of go through that transition?
I think that a difficult thing of being online is that you're not in a classroom, so you have a lot more distractions around you. So what helped with me is just sort of minimizing those distractions. I know us peer advisors run a peer blog that's linked to our BASC website that we have a lot of answers to some of these questions. So if you felt like your questions weren't answered, you can go check out our peer blog.
To echo what Farah said as well, we have a lot of resources, especially through the College of Biological Science. So while you're trying to figure out what schedule works for you and when to do homework, where to do it, all of that, definitely reach out to people you can rely on. So whether that be reach out to your academic advisor. In addition to the peer blogs, we'll also have a newsletter that's coming out with some tips and tricks in addition to like what's happening during the academic calendar. Reach out to your TAs and professors because they know this is an interesting time as well and everybody's adjusting. So having that open communication by making study groups are all great ways that you can keep the communication line open so that you have those people to rely on.
Maybe one more question, Mackenzie?
One more question? Let's see. There's so many good questions coming in. I think this is kind of a big one to ask, but I'm going to ask it anyways because I think it's kind of talks about imposter syndrome. How did you overcome the feeling of not knowing what you're stepping into? So put yourself back in the shoes, you know, of your first day of classes coming to Davis, and you know, how did you overcome that feeling?
I'll go for that one. Oh,
you can go, Lauren.
Okay, I was gonna say, what I learned throughout my time is, and if you talk to anybody on this campus, everybody is like, yes, like, oh my gosh, I don't know what I'm doing, blah, blah, blah. We're all in the exact same place. And I think that we all feel like we're the only ones who feel that way, when the truth of the matter is every single student on this campus, even if you have 2 majors and like 16 jobs like Emily does, like we all still feel like we are not supposed to be here. That's not true. And the longer that you stay here, the more people that you talk to, if you join clubs and organizations, or just even in your class, the people that that are in your class, if you talk to them, you eventually realize you do belong here. We're all in the exact same boat. And so I think that, and as the quarters go by and you continue to work within this like 10-week crazy quarter schedule, it's going to get better and it's going to be more easily manageable. So just stick with it, because I promise we are all here doing the same things and drowning the same way. So don't worry about it.
Yeah, I want to agree with Lauren. Within time, you're going to find your own little group of people that you connect with within this. Like, I know it's going to be harder with remote learning, but just give it time and it'll come, and the stress will kind of fade away. You'll feel more lively and less drowned in this emotion of nervousness.
All right. Thank you guys so much. This has been amazing. Once again, the recording of this will be in your Canvas, and it'll also be uploaded to the Basque website by the middle of next week. So if you want to go back and rewatch the webinar, you can definitely do that. If you want to come to Express Advising next week on Tuesday and Wednesday, we will be available. If you don't want to have to make an appointment in advance, just go to the Basque website on Tuesday and Wednesday, and you'll be able to meet with an advisor. So thank you guys so much for coming, and enjoy the rest of your Sunday. Thank you, panelists. You guys have been awesome. Bye, guys. Bye.